Beloved chosen one, have you ever wondered why you feel different? Why life seems to have presented you with challenges that others don't seem to face? Have you ever questioned the path you've been walking, or wondered why things don't quite fit into the world's idea of success? What if the signs that have been pointing to your divine purpose have been with you all along, since childhood, but you just couldn't see them? What if everything you've experienced, the struggles, the victories, the moments of isolation, were part of a greater plan to shape you for a destiny far beyond what this world offers? The world tells us that success is measured by wealth, status, and luxury. It teaches us that if we don't have money, we have nothing. But let me ask you this: what if God's definition of success is far greater than material wealth? What if true fulfillment comes from walking in the purpose He has set for you, a purpose that transcends anything money can buy? Look around you. Many people chase after money and luxury, but still feel empty inside. They fear losing it all, and in doing so, never find peace. But when God marks someone, when He places a calling over their life, there is nothing in this world, no riches, no success, that can compare to walking in His divine will. If you've ever felt like you don't quite fit in, if challenges have come against you from a young age, or if you've ever questioned why you've experienced certain struggles, pay close attention. It's no coincidence. Many of the greatest men and women in history, especially in the Bible, were set apart from birth. But they all had to recognize the signs, embrace their calling, and step into their purpose. And today, you are about to discover something that could change your life forever. The signs that God may have been revealing to you since childhood, signs that indicate you were chosen, set apart, and destined for something much greater than what the world can offer. Before we dive deeper, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have supported this channel through Super Thanks. Your generosity is truly appreciated. Every donation, no matter the amount, plays a vital role in helping us continue spreading these life-changing messages. Your contribution not only supports the work we're doing here, but it also helps ensure that these powerful truths reach others who need them. Whether you have donated or are simply watching, I am deeply thankful for your presence and commitment. Please know that your support, both through donations and your time, is what makes this community so strong. I'm honored to have you as part of this journey, and I pray God's blessings upon you for your generosity. As we embark on this transformative journey together, I invite you to declare your faith and purpose in the comments below. If you feel that this message has resonated with you, if you've realized that you are ready to step into your calling, I want you to type 999 in the comments. This simple act is a declaration that you are choosing to embrace the truth that you are chosen, that you are set apart for something greater. By commenting 999, you are stepping forward in faith, acknowledging your purpose, and joining with others who are also choosing to rise into their divine calling. Let's stand together and declare that we are walking in the fullness of God's plan for our lives. And don't forget, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the powerful revelations to come. I truly believe that the messages here are meant to prepare us for what lies ahead. And I'm excited to continue this journey with you. Share this message with someone who may need it. Send it to a friend or a family member who might be struggling to understand their purpose. You never know how a simple word can change someone's life. Together, let's change the world by walking in the purpose God has called us to. God's chosen ones, signs from the cradle that show your purpose since childhood. Chosen one, have you ever felt that deep, undeniable presence within you, a sense of divine direction that guides you even from the earliest days of your life? Have you ever wondered why, even as a child, there was something about you that felt different, something destined? This is not just a feeling, it is a truth rooted in Scripture. Long before you were even formed, God had already written your story, carefully and with purpose. In Jeremiah 1:5, God speaks directly to the prophet saying, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." This statement was not just meant for Jeremiah. It is a spiritual law that applies to all of God's chosen people, including you. Have you ever stopped to think about the significance of those early moments of your life, when you may not have yet understood your purpose, but something was pulling you toward a greater calling? This is part of God's divine plan for you. Just as He knew Jeremiah before he was born, He knew you before your first breath. His hand was upon you even when you were unaware of it. And that same hand continues to guide you, leading you through each step of your journey. Consider the life of Moses. From the moment of his birth, his life was shrouded in danger and uncertainty. Pharaoh, in a desperate bid to prevent the growth of the Hebrew people, decreed that every male Hebrew child be killed. Yet, even in the face of such destruction, God had a plan. Moses' mother, following God's wisdom, placed him in a basket and sent him down the Nile River, where he was miraculously found and adopted by Pharaoh's own daughter. Raised in the palace that sought to destroy him, Moses was given everything: luxury, privilege, wealth. But his heart was drawn to a purpose much greater than anything the world could offer him. Why is it that those chosen by God often face such fierce opposition even before they fully understand their calling? The answer lies in the spiritual battle that rages around us. As it says in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be alert and of sober mind." Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. The enemy recognizes your destiny before you even do. He sees the light within you, and his mission is to destroy it before you even have the chance to fulfill the purpose God has set before you. But remember, you are not alone in this battle. You, like Moses, are part of a divine plan that no enemy can thwart. In Romans 8:31, we are reminded, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" The obstacles that arise, the struggles that seem insurmountable, are merely the enemy's attempts to stop what God has already ordained. It is through these trials that your faith is strengthened and your purpose becomes clearer. Take the example of Nelson Mandela. Born into a life of hardship and segregation, Mandela faced great adversity from a young age. Yet through it all, he remained steadfast in his purpose, eventually leading South Africa to freedom. Much like Moses, Mandela faced personal trials that were designed to derail his destiny, but he did not allow the enemy's schemes to prevail. He knew that his calling was greater than the obstacles in front of him. Similarly, consider Oprah Winfrey. From an early age, Oprah experienced trauma, poverty, and rejection, yet through these struggles, she found her true purpose in life. Her story, much like yours, demonstrates that even in the face of challenges, God's purpose will unfold. The enemy will attempt to dim your light, but when you walk in your divine calling, nothing can stop you. So, what does this mean for you, chosen one? It means that even in your youth, even in your struggles and challenges, God has been shaping you for something greater. It means that the obstacles you face are not meant to defeat you, but to refine you. Like Moses, Nelson Mandela, and Oprah Winfrey, you have a unique calling that is part of a greater divine plan. Embrace it, trust it, walk in it. What challenges have you faced that you now realize were preparing you for your purpose? How have the struggles of your past shaped the person you are becoming? God's hand is on your life, and the obstacles you face are only a part of the story He is writing for you. Trust in His plan, for it is good. Chosen one, have you ever found yourself facing opposition, rejection, or circumstances that seem as though they were crafted to break you? If so, understand this: it was never truly about you. It was always about the calling placed upon your life. Think back to the story of Jesus. From the very moment he was born, his life was threatened. King Herod, in a desperate attempt to eliminate the perceived threat to his throne, ordered the massacre of innocent children. Why? Because darkness throughout history has always tried to eliminate the light before it can shine. The enemy knows the power that lies within the chosen ones, and so he attempts to stop them before their purpose is fully realized. But what the enemy intends for harm, God uses for preparation. Just as God protected Jesus, he is protecting you. As it is written in Romans 8:28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Every challenge, every obstacle you have faced is part of a greater plan to prepare you for what lies ahead. The road may not always be easy, but it is leading you to a destiny that cannot be derailed by the world's opposition. The world, in its pursuit of wealth and luxury, often forgets the true riches that lie in walking according to God's divine plan. There is no amount of money, no material possession that can compare to the fulfillment found in knowing that you are walking in alignment with your divine calling. As Jesus himself said in Matthew 16:26, "What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul?" The world may glorify riches, but without a purpose, even the richest person can feel empty, lost, and without direction. This is why so many, despite having everything they could ever dream of, still feel that something is missing. They have not yet found the wealth that transcends the material world, the wealth that is the understanding of God's call on their lives. In your life, you may have experienced moments when you felt different, moments when your struggles seemed more significant than those of others. Have you ever wondered why you faced challenges that others around you didn't seem to understand? These are signs, the signs of God's hand at work in your life. The moments when you felt a longing for something greater, when your spirit was restless, sensing that you were created for a purpose that was bigger than what was immediately visible. This is not an accident. These are the signs that you are chosen. Many people, however, ignore these signs. They allow the world to dictate their worth by the standards of money, status, and possessions. But the chosen ones are called to something deeper. Their true inheritance is not found in the wealth of this world. It is found in eternal significance, in knowing that they were set apart by God for a purpose greater than anything this world can offer. Take, for instance, the story of Steve Jobs. Raised in a world that constantly pushed the value of wealth and success, Jobs faced his own share of challenges, rejection, and opposition. Yet, through it all, he was driven by a deeper calling, a desire to change the world with his innovative thinking. The wealth he accumulated, while immense, was never his primary pursuit. It was the realization of his divine purpose that gave him fulfillment. His life demonstrated that true success is not defined by riches, but by walking in the calling God places on your life. Similarly, consider the story of Mother Teresa. Born in a relatively privileged family, she chose a path that defied the world's pursuit of wealth and status. She dedicated her life to serving the poor and the sick, living a life of simplicity and sacrifice. She found her true wealth not in material riches, but in the calling that God placed upon her life to serve others. And then there is the example of the great athlete Michael Jordan. Despite his immense success on the basketball court, Jordan has often spoken about the drive that went beyond just winning championships. For him, basketball was not just a game, it was his purpose. He believed that his talent was a gift from God, and he used it to inspire others and make an impact beyond the sport itself. So, chosen one, Have you ever noticed moments in your life when God's hand was clearly at work? Have you ever been protected in ways that you couldn't explain, or sensed desires in your heart that led you toward a greater purpose? If so, these are not coincidences. These are signs of the divine plan that has been unfolding in your life from the very beginning. The struggles you faced, the feeling of being set apart, they are not by chance. They are God's way of preparing you for something greater. Chosen one, childhood holds something extraordinary, something precious. It is the stage of life when the purest version of ourselves exists, before the world has the chance to mold us, before doubts creep in, and before we are taught to suppress the deep instincts and truths that live within our souls. It is also during this early period that God often begins to reveal glimpses of His divine calling for us. However, here is the hard truth. Most people miss these signs. They dismiss them as mere coincidences, childhood fantasies, or insignificant moments that hold no greater meaning. But let me tell you this, nothing in God's plan is accidental. Every detail, every experience, every desire imprinted in your heart since childhood has meaning and purpose. When you look back, have you ever wondered about those early moments of your life when something inside you felt different? These moments were not random. They were the first whispers of God's calling. Just look at the life of Joseph. As a young boy, Joseph had vivid dreams that spoke of his future, his greatness, and his leadership. But instead of receiving support and encouragement for these dreams, he was met with rejection. His own brothers were jealous, and his father rebuked him. Despite their rejection, Joseph's dreams were not mere fantasies. They were signs of the divine calling on his life. God was preparing him, even in his youth, for the extraordinary future ahead. Do you see any parallels in your own life? Have you ever felt like you were drawn to things that others didn't understand? Perhaps you were always more focused on spiritual matters while others chased after material success. Maybe you were filled with a deep compassion for others while those around you seemed only interested in wealth and luxury. Or perhaps you had insights, ideas, or talents that seemed beyond your years. If you ever felt like an outsider in your own world, if you ever thought your mind was wired differently, it is no accident. Those feelings, those desires, were placed in you by God. Consider the story of Samuel. As a child, Samuel heard God calling his name in the temple, but he did not immediately recognize it. He thought it was Eli, the priest, calling him. It was only when Eli realized what was happening that he guided Samuel to understand that it was God himself calling him. How many people walk through life hearing God's call, but fail to recognize it for what it truly is? God is calling you, and the question is, have you been listening? For some, the signs of their calling come through unusual wisdom or understanding at a young age. Solomon, for instance, was given wisdom beyond his years because his heart was aligned with God's purpose. As it is written in 1 Kings 3:12, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart. Solomon's wisdom was not just about intellect. It was a divine gift meant to prepare him for his role in leading God's people. Similarly, consider David. As a young shepherd boy, David displayed a courage far beyond what anyone could expect from him. His brothers, trained warriors, saw only a young boy with a slingshot, but God saw a king. God sees beyond the surface. He doesn't measure you by your worldly accomplishments, but by your heart, your obedience, and your willingness to walk in His purpose. The world often measures success by wealth, status, and luxury, but God measures success by the impact you make, the legacy you build. In Matthew 6:19-20, Jesus warns, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. When you live according to God's calling, your treasures are not found in what the world values, but in the eternal significance of your purpose. Now think about your own childhood. Were there moments when you felt different from those around you? Were there desires placed in your heart that others couldn't understand? Maybe you had a longing to help others when your peers only cared about their own gain. Maybe you saw injustice and felt a deep desire to make a difference while others simply accepted the status quo. Perhaps you had talents and insights that no one could explain. These are not coincidences. These are the early signs of God's calling on your life. But society often teaches us to ignore these signs. It pushes us to chase after wealth, status, and worldly recognition, urging us to disregard the quiet voice of God, calling us to something deeper. Yet no amount of money can buy the sense of purpose that comes from following God's call. No luxury can replace the fulfillment of living out the divine purpose He has set before you. As you reflect on your past, ask yourself, what moments in your life pointed to something greater? What experiences from your childhood now make sense in the light of the purpose you are discovering? Recognizing these signs is the first step in understanding your divine calling. Once you begin to see them for what they truly are, you will no longer be able to ignore them. God has been working in your life from the very beginning, and now it is time for you to embrace the journey He has set before you. Let me leave you with this. Are you ready to listen to His call, to recognize the signs, and to step into the purpose He has prepared for you? Chosen one, have you ever wondered why some people seem to go through life with little resistance, while others seem to face battle after battle, even from a young age? It's as if they are marked, as if there is an unseen force working against them, trying to suppress them before they ever have a chance to rise. This is not a coincidence. It is a strategy. It happens to those who are chosen. Have you ever felt like something unseen was working against you, even when you had done nothing to deserve it? Throughout history, those with a divine calling have always been targeted by opposition, and the enemy moves to stop them before they even realize who they truly are. Think about Moses. Before he could even speak or walk, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, ordered the execution of all Hebrew male infants. Why? Because the enemy recognized destiny before Moses could. Pharaoh knew that a deliverer was coming, someone who would lead the Israelites out of slavery. And so he moved quickly to try and eliminate Moses before he could fulfill his purpose. This early attack wasn't just about Moses. It was about the purpose that God had placed on his life. The enemy recognized the light before it even began to shine. How many times in your own life have you felt the weight of opposition when you were just beginning to discover your purpose? Now, think about Jesus. Even before he began his earthly ministry, King Herod, driven by fear and darkness, sent soldiers to slaughter innocent children. Why? Because darkness tries to snuff out the light before it can shine. The enemy, knowing that Jesus was the Savior of the world, moved to destroy him before he could fulfill his divine purpose. As it says in John 1:5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." But despite the enemy's efforts, the light could not be extinguished. Have you ever felt like your light was being dimmed by forces beyond your control? The same pattern repeats throughout history. Those marked by God often endure hardship, rejection, and battles that seem too great for their age. If you have faced resistance from an early age, if your life has been filled with challenges that seemed unfair or unexplainable, you need to understand this truth. The enemy attacks what he fears, and he does not fear those who live for themselves, who chase after wealth, status, and luxury without purpose. No, he fears those who are called by God to disrupt the plans of darkness. He fears those who are set apart to bring light into this world. Do you feel like the challenges you've faced have been more than just coincidence? Do you sense that your struggles are tied to something greater? Consider the life of the famous civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr. From a young age, King faced adversity. Despite his exceptional gifts, he was met with deep-seated hatred and resistance from those who feared his influence. He was marked, not for personal success, but for his mission to bring equality and justice to all people. King's battles were not random. They were evidence of the divine calling on his life, a calling that disturbed the enemy's plans for oppression. Do you feel like your battles are connected to a higher purpose, one that is larger than yourself? Similarly, think about the life of Malala Yousafzai, the young Pakistani advocate for girls' education. Malala's life has been marked by adversity from the start. She faced resistance, violence, and even a death threat for daring to stand up for the right to education in her country. But she did not bow down. Malala understood that her life had a greater purpose, a divine calling that would shine a light even in the darkest of places. Her battle was not random. It was a direct consequence of the enemy's fear of what she could accomplish through her voice and vision. Have you ever felt that you were called to challenge the status quo, even when it meant facing great adversity? And let's also look at the life of the renowned author J.K. Rowling. Before her books were published, she faced multiple rejections from publishers. She was living in poverty, struggling with depression, and fighting a world that seemed to ignore her talents. Yet, she persisted. Her divine purpose was to inspire millions, to bring joy and hope to the world through her words. Her hardships were not about her failures. They were about the enemy's attempt to suppress a voice that would change the world. Have you ever faced rejection or hardship that in hindsight revealed itself as part of the divine plan God had for you? So, if you have faced struggle, rejection, or hardship from an early age, do not despair. Understand that these challenges are not random. They are a direct reflection of the purpose that God has placed on your life. The enemy attacks what he fears, and he fears those who are chosen to bring light to the darkness. As it is written in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." But remember, no matter how intense the opposition, you are called to shine brighter than any darkness that tries to stop you. How does it feel to realize that your battles are evidence of your divine calling? How will you respond to the realization that the enemy's attacks are only confirmation that you are set apart for something greater? Your battles, the struggles you've faced, are not signs of failure. They are proof of your calling. The world may not recognize the significance of your trials, but God sees them. He sees the greater purpose, the greater mission He has set before you. Every challenge, every obstacle is a part of the divine preparation for what you are destined to become. The enemy knows it, and now you must begin to see it too. The battles you face are evidence of your calling, and that calling will not be defeated. What steps will you take to embrace your divine purpose, knowing that every battle is part of your journey? Chosen one, have you ever noticed how the world often equates hardship with failure? People tend to assume that if someone is struggling, they must be doing something wrong. But in the kingdom of God, the opposite is often true. The fiercest battles are reserved for those with the greatest callings. It is in the midst of our struggles that God prepares us for the incredible purposes He has for our lives. The attacks you have faced were never about your present. They were always about your future. Does this resonate with you? Have you ever wondered why certain things have happened to you, things that others around you may not understand? Consider Joseph. Betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery, Joseph's journey was filled with suffering. Yet, through every trial, God was shaping him for his destiny. Joseph's hardships were not signs of failure. They were divine preparation for the great leadership he would later demonstrate. Daniel was thrown into a den of lions, and Esther was taken from her family and forced into the palace of a pagan king. Each of these great individuals endured hardship long before stepping into the fullness of their purpose. What about your life? Have you faced rejection, pain, or opposition that seemed far greater than what others around you experienced? Do you feel as though the weight of the world has been placed on your shoulders, just as it was for those chosen by God? Many of us experience difficulties that may feel overwhelming. Perhaps you grew up in a broken home, feeling unwanted or unseen. Maybe you have faced betrayal from those you trusted. Perhaps you have struggled with obstacles that seemed specifically designed to break you. But through it all, something inside of you refused to give up. That is the mark of the chosen. You may have questioned your worth, wondering why things have been so difficult. But now, in the light of God's truth, you can see that those struggles were not meant to destroy you. They were preparing you. The enemy does not fear those who are complacent or distracted by the temporary things of this world, wealth, status, or luxury. He fears those who are called by God, those whose lives have a greater purpose than mere survival. In 2 Corinthians 4:17, it is written, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." The enemy seeks to distract you with the fleeting comforts of this world. If he can convince you that your value is tied to what you own or how others perceive you, then he has already won. But those who recognize the truth of their divine calling are unstoppable. They understand that their true wealth is not in material riches, but in the purpose that God has placed within them. They know that their struggles are not signs of failure, but of preparation. The question is, do you see your struggles this way? Can you embrace the idea that your difficulties are shaping you for something greater? Think about the life of Oprah Winfrey. Her childhood was filled with hardship and rejection. She endured abuse, neglect, and struggles that would have broken many people. Yet through it all, she rose to become one of the most influential women in the world. Oprah's struggles were not setbacks. They were the foundation for her ability to connect with and inspire millions. She understood that her worth was not defined by her circumstances, but by her calling. Similarly, consider the story of Thomas Edison. The famous inventor was told as a child that he was too stupid to learn anything. He faced countless failures in his career, but each failure was a lesson. Edison's story proves that the greatest breakthroughs often come after the hardest battles. His perseverance was a direct result of the many struggles he faced, and it was through those struggles that he ultimately changed the world with his inventions. And then there is the story of Nick Vujicic, born without arms or legs. Nick faced bullying, rejection, and the deep loneliness that often accompanies such profound physical challenges. But instead of giving up, he became a motivational speaker, inspiring millions around the world. Nick understood that his calling was far greater than his physical limitations. His struggles didn't break him. They shaped him into the person he was always meant to be. So, if you have ever felt like your life has been under attack, if you have wondered why nothing comes easy for you while others seem to have smooth paths, do not be discouraged. The battles you have faced were never about destroying you. They were about shaping you. They were about preparing you for what is coming. And if you feel the weight of that battle now, know this: your breakthrough is closer than you think. Do you believe that your breakthrough is just around the corner? That the battles you fought are preparing you for the purpose you are about to step into? If this message has spoken to you, if you have ever felt like your struggles were unfair, but now you see that they had a purpose, take a moment to give this video a like. Not only does it help spread this message to more people who need to hear it, but it is also a declaration of faith, a sign that you are choosing to see beyond the struggle into the victory that God has prepared for you. Because your story is not over. In fact, it's only just beginning. How does it feel to know that your story is just beginning? Are you ready to walk in the fullness of your divine calling? Chosen one, have you ever reached a point in your journey where you began to question everything? Why have the challenges in your life seemed endless? Why do you feel different from those around you? And why do the dreams God placed in your heart always seem to be met with resistance? The answer to all these questions is simple: preparation. God does not send untrained warriors into battle. He does not elevate untested leaders. If you are called to great things, you must first endure seasons of refining, where your faith, character, and endurance are tested. While the world may view hardship as a sign of failure, God sees it as a sign of preparation. Have you ever wondered if your struggles are part of a divine purpose to shape you for something greater? Take the life of Nelson Mandela as an example. A man who was destined for leadership, Mandela's journey was filled with hardship. He endured imprisonment for 27 years, and while the world viewed his years in prison as a tragic setback, they were actually a divine preparation. Mandela emerged from prison not as a broken man, but as a leader ready to change the course of a nation. If Mandela had never endured the trials of prison, would he have been prepared to lead South Africa to freedom? Would he have had the wisdom and understanding to lead with compassion? His suffering was not wasted. It was part of the divine preparation that shaped him into the leader he would become. Similarly, consider Walt Disney, who faced rejection after rejection early in his career. At one point, he was fired from a job for lack of imagination and was told he had no creative ideas. Yet, Disney's struggles didn't define him. They refined him. He persevered and created one of the most beloved entertainment empires in history. The hardships he faced were not signs of failure. They were part of the process that prepared him for the greatness that was ahead. Would Disney have been able to build the world-renowned Disney empire if he hadn't faced those early setbacks? His journey was marked by rejection, but that rejection fueled his determination and creativity. And then there is J.K. Rowling, who was living in poverty and struggling as a single mother before she found success. Her first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected multiple times by publishers, yet she kept going. She endured personal and financial hardships that seemed insurmountable, but through those struggles, she was shaped into the successful author who would inspire millions around the world. If Rowling had been handed success too soon, would she have been able to handle the pressures that came with her newfound fame? The trials she faced were the preparation needed to withstand the weight of her calling. Like the others, her struggles were not a sign that she was not called, but a confirmation that she was destined for something greater. Trials are not meant to destroy you, they are meant to develop you. Yet many people make a critical mistake when they see struggle as a sign that they are not called. In reality, struggle is often the very proof that you're called. The enemy does not attack those who pose no threat. He does not waste his energy on those who aren't destined for greatness. God does not allow hardships without a purpose. Think about this. If God gave you everything you were meant to have before you were ready for it, would you be able to handle it? Would you be prepared for the responsibility, the leadership, or the challenges that come with it? As it says in 1 Peter 1:6-7, "In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed." If Nelson Mandela had gone straight from prison to the presidency, would he have had the wisdom to navigate such a complex political landscape? If Walt Disney had been immediately successful, would he have been able to understand the depth of creativity required to sustain his empire? And if J.K. Rowling had been successful on her first attempt, would she have been able to handle the intense pressures of fame? The process of refinement, though painful, is necessary. The world often looks at money, luxury, and status as signs of success, but God sees success differently. The Apostle Paul writes in Philippians 3:8, What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage that I may gain Christ. Money fades, wealth can be lost in a moment, and luxury is temporary, but purpose is eternal. Have you ever thought about how temporary worldly success truly is compared to the eternal value of your calling? Sometimes God will even withhold riches from those he has called, because he knows that wealth without purpose can destroy a person. The world has seen many rise to power and fall just as quickly because they were not prepared for the weight of success. God knows that if you aren't prepared to handle the blessings he has in store for you, they could overwhelm you. The process of refinement is not punishment, it is protection, ensuring that when your breakthrough comes, you will be ready for it. As it says in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Chosen one, have you ever found yourself in a season of waiting, struggle, or uncertainty? Do you feel like you're stuck in a place where progress seems slow and your dreams feel distant? Understand this: it is not punishment, it is preparation. God is not just preparing you for elevation, he is preparing you to sustain it. The battles you've faced, the rejections, the struggles, they were not for nothing. Every hardship, every moment of difficulty was shaping you, strengthening you, and teaching you invaluable lessons. The truth is, when the time comes for you to step into the fullness of what God has for you, you won't just survive, you will thrive. Have you ever wondered if the challenges you're facing are part of God's refining process, preparing you for something much greater? The best part: what is coming will be worth everything you have endured. God's purpose for your life is not to give you temporary success, but to prepare you for lasting greatness. And when you rise, you will rise with the strength and wisdom necessary to handle the magnitude of the purpose God has placed on your life. In Isaiah 40:31, it says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Your struggles are not there to break you, but to build the strength you will need to soar when it is your time. Are you ready to receive what God has prepared for you, knowing that every trial has been shaping you for this moment? Now, let's consider the gifts God has placed in your life, the unique talents that have been within you from childhood. There is something incredibly powerful about the gifts God places inside a person. They are not random, they are intentional, signs of what he has called you to do. The problem, however, is that most people either never recognize these gifts or misuse them. They chase wealth, success, or power, without realizing that the true fulfillment in life comes from using these gifts for divine purpose. How many times have you ignored the talents God has given you because they didn't fit society's definition of success? Look at Oprah Winfrey. From a young age, Oprah exhibited a gift for communication and connecting with people, but it wasn't always seen as valuable in the world's eyes. She faced rejection and was told she was unworthy. However, Oprah used her gift of empathy, storytelling, and listening to inspire millions. Her talent wasn't just for her own success, it was to fulfill her divine calling to help others. Imagine if she had ignored her gift, focusing only on the pursuit of wealth. The world would have missed out on the power of her story, and many people's lives would not have been touched. Consider Leonardo da Vinci, a man whose incredible gift for art, science, and invention shaped the course of history. Da Vinci didn't use his gifts for personal gain alone. He sought to understand the world and make it a better place. His talents weren't just about creating beautiful paintings, they were about advancing knowledge and contributing to the common good. But what if he had used his genius solely for his own profit or fame? Would the world have seen the full potential of his gifts? The answer is no. Similarly, Mother Teresa was a woman whose gift of compassion and service to others changed the lives of millions. She didn't use her gift for personal glory, but for God's kingdom. In 1 Peter 4:10 it says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." This verse perfectly encapsulates how we should view our gifts, given to us not just for our own benefit, but to serve others, to build the kingdom, and to bring glory to God. But here's the key. Chosen one. Gifts are only as powerful as the way they are used. There are many people who are talented, skilled, and gifted, yet they spend their lives chasing money instead of purpose. They use their influence for personal gain instead of for the kingdom. They have been given abilities that could change lives, but they use them only to build their own success. In Matthew 6:24, it is written, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You cannot use your gifts solely for self-promotion and expect to find true fulfillment. The truth is, gifts that are not used for God will never bring true satisfaction. The world will tell you that money is the answer, that if you are gifted in something, you should use it to gain wealth, power, and luxury. But here is the truth. No amount of money will satisfy someone who is living outside of their purpose. How many people have reached the top of their field, acquired riches and built empires, only to find themselves empty? Because without God, even the greatest success is meaningless. As Mark 8:36 says, "What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul?" Success without purpose is like chasing the wind. It will never bring lasting satisfaction. Chosen one, your gifts were given to you for a reason. The question is, how are you using them? Are you using what God has placed inside of you for His glory, or are you using it only to build your own success? Are you recognizing the talents He has given you, or have you ignored them because they don't fit the world's definition of success? Maybe you have always been a natural leader, or perhaps you have a heart for helping others, a mind that sees solutions others can't. Maybe you have a gift that could bring hope to the broken, or a talent to inspire change in others. Whatever it is not by accident. In Romans 12:6 it says, "We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us." Your gifts are not random. They are part of God's divine plan. The question is, will you use them for His glory? Will you recognize the power and purpose behind your talents, knowing that they were given to you for something far greater than what the world can offer? God has assigned a purpose to every gift He gives, and now it is up to you to use them as He intended. Chosen one, here's the key. Gifts are only as powerful as the way they are used. There are many who are gifted, skilled, and talented, yet spend their lives chasing after wealth or personal success. But, as Matthew 6:19-21 warns us, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." If you use your gift solely for personal gain, you'll never experience true fulfillment. The world may applaud you for your achievements, but in the kingdom of God, true success comes from living in alignment with your purpose. So, let me ask you, have you been using your gifts for God's glory, or have you been distracted by the world's temporary rewards? The world will tell you that wealth is the answer, that if you are gifted, you should use it to gain power, status, and luxury. But here is the truth. No amount of money can fill the emptiness that comes from living outside your purpose. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income." How many people have reached the top of their field, acquired riches and built empires, only to realize they are empty inside? The problem is that they were chasing after the wrong thing. True fulfillment comes not from accumulating wealth, but from walking in the purpose God has designed for you. What are you chasing, chosen one? Is it what the world defines as success, or is it the divine calling that God has placed on your life? The gifts God has given you are not by accident. You are not here by coincidence. But the question remains, how are you using them? Are you chasing after success the way the world defines it, or are you aligning your life with God's plan for you? In 1 Peter 4:10 it says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." What if you embraced your gifts, recognizing that they are not just for you, but for the world around you? What if you began to use them not to build your own empire, but to serve God's greater purpose? The true power of your gifts lies in how you use them for others, for God's glory, and not merely for your own personal success. When you walk in your purpose, everything else aligns. It's not about chasing after things that won't fulfill you. It's about saying yes to God's call and trusting that when you align with His will, the provision follows. Have you ever wondered why life feels empty even when you achieve success the world celebrates? Could it be that you've been chasing the wrong things and your true purpose lies elsewhere? In John 15:5, Jesus reminds us, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." Your true success is found when you walk in the purpose God has for you, using your gifts not for personal gain, but for His glory. As you step into that calling, everything changes. The fulfillment that comes from serving God's will is far greater than anything the world could ever offer. Will you choose, chosen one? Will you use your gifts for the kingdom of God, or will you continue chasing after what the world values? Proverbs 16:3 tells us, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." When you align your purpose with God's will, everything else falls into place. The question is, will you step into your purpose, knowing that everything you've endured has been leading you to this moment? Will you choose to use your gifts for God's glory, knowing that your true fulfillment is found in serving His plan, not your own success? The choice is yours. Beloved chosen one, nothing is more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than a person who fully embraces their calling. This is why some people experience even greater resistance the moment they decide to walk in obedience to God. The moment you step into your purpose, the forces of darkness will rise up against you because they fear your potential to disrupt their plans. But stepping into purpose is not just about receiving, it is about responsibility. The journey will not always be easy. Moses did not become a leader without facing opposition. Joseph did not become a ruler without enduring years of suffering. Esther did not save her people without risking her life. Each of them faced tremendous challenges, yet they chose to answer the call, and because of their obedience, they changed the world. But here is the truth that separates the chosen from the ordinary. They do not quit. No matter how fierce the battles, no matter how heavy the burdens, no matter how difficult the road, they understand that the price of obedience is far less than the cost of regret. They keep moving forward no matter what. The chosen ones understand that the struggles they face today are refining them, preparing them for the greatness that lies ahead. They trust that God's plan is bigger than any temporary hardship, and that every challenge is a stepping stone toward their destiny. So, now the question is not whether you are chosen. That has already been made clear. You are chosen. God has set you apart for something extraordinary. The question now is, what will you do with what you now know? Will you continue living as though your life is just another story, or will you rise and step fully into the reason you were created? The time is coming when those who are truly chosen will no longer be able to remain in the background. They will stand, they will lead, and they will change the world. You have been called to stand up, and when the moment comes, will you be ready to answer that call? If you felt this stirring in your spirit, if you know deep down that this message was for you, understand this: you are being called to something greater. Your struggles, your pain, your disappointments, they are not in vain. God is using all of it to prepare you for a destiny that is bigger than what you can imagine. And when the moment comes, when your calling becomes clear, you must be ready to step into it. The world needs you. The world is waiting for you to rise, to lead, to make the difference that only you can make. Now that you've heard this message, you are left with a choice. You can walk away and continue life as if nothing has changed, or you can take this as the moment where everything shifts. Because now you know the truth. You were never ordinary. You were never just another person living on this earth with no direction. You were chosen. You have always been chosen. Your life has always had purpose, and now is the time to step into it. Your struggles were not random. The challenges you faced, the pain you experienced, the disappointments you've endured, they were all shaping you. They were preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And now, you must decide. Will you step into that calling? The world will always try to pull you away. It will tempt you with distractions, wealth, status, and luxury, promising satisfaction but never delivering. The world will make you believe that success is about riches, that your worth is measured by how much you own or how much you've accumulated. But now you understand something deeper. True fulfillment comes only when you walk in the purpose God has placed on your life. This is why so many people who seem to have it all, money, status, influence, are still empty. They may have the riches, but without purpose, it is all meaningless. Wealth without purpose is fleeting. Riches without destiny are nothing more than a distraction. But those who walk in their calling, they have something money cannot buy. They have peace, they have confidence, they have clarity, they have an unshakable sense of purpose. So now, what will you do with what you have learned? Will you continue ignoring the signs, dismissing the call, or will you take this as your wake-up call? Because the time is coming when you will have to make a choice. Those who are truly chosen will no longer be able to stay in the background. They will rise, they will lead, and they will change the world. If this message has spoken to you, make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you don't miss the next powerful revelation. Turn on your notifications, because every message here is meant to prepare you for what is ahead. God is leading you, and these messages are part of His divine plan to equip you for the path ahead. And if this message has impacted you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Send it to a friend, a family member, because you never know whose life could be changed by this message. I also want to take a moment to thank you deeply for being part of this community. Whether you are a long-time supporter or just starting to walk this path, your presence means the world. If you feel led to support this ministry, you can send a super thanks. Please know I am deeply grateful, regardless of whether you donate or not. Your support, your time, your presence, your engagement is a blessing in itself. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. Lastly, I speak blessings over you today. May you walk in the fullness of your calling. May courage rise in your heart. May peace fill your mind, and may God grant you the strength and wisdom to step fully into your destiny. May you have the clarity to understand that your struggles are not setbacks, but divine preparation. May you embrace your purpose with confidence, knowing that God has equipped you for everything that lies ahead. You are chosen. The best is yet to come.